Howdy, ladies and gents. Another quick training coming at you guys today. Today, I've got Gabe Ericson with me. One thing that we're going to go over, because when you're sitting down with a client, it's very easy to help them and put a policy in place when the husband's making $6,000 a month and the wife is stay at home with the kids and no income. You know, the need is there, the why is there. It just makes sense. And the wife's going to be in a tough situation, but we've all had the clients, and I think a lot of people struggle with this, where both spouses are doing great. And what if they don't really need it? What if the why isn't really there? They're both making great income, and if either spouse passes away, they're going to be just fine. How do we handle that and appropriately approach that type of situation?
You know, Jonah, I love this conversation because when I started, that was like dreaded.
Yeah.
Like I was scared of it. I was like, oh, they're not going to lose the house, or it's not going to really hurt.
If it's not doom and gloom, what do I do?
Yeah, like how to help those people. And then when I learned, they became my favorite clients, because something that agents hear me say a lot and kind of laugh at is like, dude, I'll say bad health and bad finances can often go together. Mm-hmm. And the opposite is true as well. When somebody has been making good financial decisions their whole life and they're in a good spot financially, dude, they're ready to make another good one. And so investing in their protection, in their family, in their loved ones, making sure they're in the best position possible is something they really want to do. And you just have to help them do it. And I go back to the psychology of a lead. Well, if they're in such a good position, why did they fill out a lead? It's because they know they need something. They want something. They just don't know exactly what it is. They feel vulnerable for some reason. And it might not be because it's doom and gloom, but there's something. And if you can isolate that, then you'll help them a lot. Let me give you a great situation. So I was actually with Joe Basso Sr. When he was starting as an agent a couple years ago there in Jersey. And we're driving around, had a great time helping folks that day. And we meet a really cool couple. Meet a cool couple. They're in a beautiful home, already very beautiful. And the gentleman was a little bit older. He was retired, and he had been would do construction on some homes.
That sounds like a typical Jersey vibe.
Yeah,
older retired couple just caking.
Dude,
that's the Jersey energy.
They were so cool, dude. They really were. Like, and he was. So we were in. They had just moved in, and they were still doing a lot of work. He had done construction, and he was building a beautiful kitchen, like marble, and he was like in the middle of it when we got there. And he's like, hey, yeah, I kind of forgot, I'm still working on some things. Let me get my wife down here. So he was retired, bringing in pretty good income. She was a teacher, and she was still a teacher, and she made a great income too. She made like $10K a month, you know, when she was working. So we're going through everything, and it basically the basic situation worked out to be, between the two of them, they were bringing home like 16, 17 grand a month between what she was making and his retirement. They had a good chunk of money in their 401k, like $500,000. They had a $500,000 life insurance policy already. That was a term. And they were putting extra money into their IRA every month and putting another $2,000 down the mortgage payment every month with a goal to pay it off like in the near future. I mean, they were rolling. And so after we went through that whole situation, so obviously I realized immediately this is not doom and gloom. Mm-hmm. And I said that to them. I was honest with them. I was like, me, congratulate you. You've done a phenomenal job, like setting yourselves up. Obviously, God forbid one of you passed away, nobody would be out in the street. Obviously, we have these life insurance policies in place. We have money in savings. And I think, you know, if either one of you, just your retirement or you kept working, we could keep the bills going. Because I asked the wife, she was still working. I was like, how much longer are you going to keep working? And she was like, 6 years. Like, she knew. She knew down to the day. I was like, okay, it looks like you're working extra. Like, you guys don't, I looked at her like, you don't have to work, but you're working so that you can go into retirement with no debt. Their only debt was their home, and they were actively paying it off with a lot of money set aside for retirement. And she was going to get a pension in a few years too. And then they'll have 2 pensions paying into the household. So it looks like you guys are working hard to make sure that you can go into retirement with no debt, just kind of ride off into the sunset, you know, take good vacations, take care of the family. Is that right? They're like, that is exactly it. And I was like, I see the only potential hiccup. And I looked at her, she was still working. God forbid you get a very serious illness or disability and you can no longer work. You're not going to be able to keep aggressively paying down the home, and you're not going to keep aggressively putting money into retirement, and could potentially go into retirement with not as much money in the bank as you want and still having some debt. Is that kind of the main concern? And they're like, yep, that's it. And I literally just showed a couple years of her income with a living benefit policy. I was like, hey, God forbid we get this critical chronic illness and your working years are cut short because of it. We have a replacement income so that we don't have to go into our savings, and we can still put money towards our debt, still put money towards overfunding, and you can actually have time to recover too. So something like that happens. What happens to a lot of people, Jonah, they're such in a hurry to get back to work that they don't even allow themselves proper time to recover. So giving them that extra cushion so that if any of that happens, they can still make their plan work. And I showed them two options. One was $350 a month, one was $200 a month. And she's like, oh, just $350? All right, let's do that. You need a check?
So you took an equity protection approach to cover the living side. Mm-hmm. Did you use a term or an IUL policy to do this?
In that situation, I used a term because we were really in situations like that.
Is it 10 year?
It was, yeah.
Yeah. The reason I ask that is because I've had quite a few situations like that where, they're 50s, lower 60s, they're getting close to retirement, and they're doing well financially. And when you pitch the living benefits and you take that approach, typically every time it's either a 10-year term, because they just want the cheapest amount of coverage for it to cover them until they retire, or an IULE.
Yeah.
If they see the benefit in permanent whole life coverage.
Yeah. Refer to that as critical period coverage. Mm-hmm. They know they don't need insurance forever. And in her case, it was 6 years. She just wanted to make sure if anything happened in the next 6 years that they were taken care of. And I think some people might think, oh, $300, like, isn't that a lot? We think about the position that these guys are in. They are working hard. They make great money. They probably spend $300 a month on things that doesn't matter at all.
Oh, for sure.
And now they're thinking, okay, I can spend $300 to ensure that all the decades of hard work that me and my loved one have put in will not go to waste if I get cancer or I get in a crippling car accident or something like that. Like, we're going to protect ourselves. They made good financial decisions all those years, ready to make another one.
I spend more than that on my car insurance.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of people spend it on, just going out and coffee and this or that. Like, when you're talking to people, and that's why I said these folks are often my favorite clients. It's because there's something in all of us, Jonah, to where we will work with more intention because of fear of loss.
Yes.
Like things that we've already attained and we don't want to lose. I've seen that person who has $500,000 in the bank spend way more to keep that money than someone who would lose everything, lose their home, their loved ones would lose everything, if they weren't here. And it's that thing. Like, I don't want to lose what I've attained.
100%. Well, think about, Gabe, if I'm your financial advisor, and I call you at 2 a.m, I'm like, hey, Gabe, guess what? I've got an opportunity where you can make a 20% gain in the market. You're like, dude, why are you calling me at 2 a.m.? I'm like, hey, Gabe, I call you at 2 a.m. Hey, Gabe, the market's going to crash before 8 a.m. tomorrow. All right. You're going to lose 20% of your funds you paid into it. You're like, oh, thank you so much. You're the best. It's just that flip psychology. People are more afraid of loss than they're of gain.
Dude, I've never heard that example, but dude, you're so right. Like, my feelings are like following as you're saying. Like, I'd be like, well, can you tell me this tomorrow morning? And then it's like, oh no, I'm losing money. Like, I'm up ready to go.
100%. Well, guys, if you took value from this, like, subscribe, and share with someone else that would find this helpful. Thanks for tuning in.